So, hello everyone, we are live right now, and today we have a very special guest with us. She is a science communicator, a youth leader, a nano-particulate specialist. She is Abigail. Welcome, Abigail.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you,
So,
Sunny?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good.
So, first of all, congratulations for the successful launch of Dragon, and we are really proud to see, American space community reaching heights and
Yeah.
launching two astronauts on an American rocket from American soil. So that's a very big milestone. Congratulations for that.
Thank you. We're so excited. The whole world is so excited. It's just a
Yeah,
completely new era that NASA astronauts have launched from American soil using a commercially built and operated American crew spacecraft. It's just so cool.
and I could see Indian, even Indian space community people, they were posting hashtag Launch America and they were supporting this mission. So, we can say that space is something which brought, nations together. And this mission was really inspiring for all the aspiring, space entrepreneurs in India as well, so that they can now push their limits and dream for something which is, which is something next to impossible, but, they can work hard and make it possible.
Yeah, it really
Okay.
is
So,
a new era
okay.
for spaceflight.
Yeah. So shout out for Ron. Ron is watching us right now, and Ron, I'm really nervous.
Hi. Hi, Ron.
Yeah. So Abigail, please tell us more about yourself.
So my name is Abby. You can just call me Abby. I am extraordinarily passionate about astronomy, anything science related, astrophysics really. But before I delved into that, I was infatuated with anything pink and ballet. That was my thing. And then I found this kind of center line between kind of dolls and dinosaurs. I found like I don't know, just a really nice balance between being a tomboy and appreciating kind of the girliness of life. And so I was a ballerina for about 12 years, and I danced anything. I danced ballet, I danced jazz and tap, and anything I could get my hands on. And I became a pianist whenever I was 5, and I've always loved music, and I've always done piano competitions throughout my childhood. And I actually was supposed to have my last competition for my senior year just not even a month ago, but because of this coronavirus outbreak, everything's been canceled, and so that didn't happen, sadly. But I'm still playing. I love the arts, really. I play a little guitar. My dad kind of brought me into that world at a young age as well. So, but what I want to pursue is astronomy. So ballet was a really competitive field, and so was piano, but I found my comfort zone in astronomy. Not that it's not a competitive field, but I feel more myself in it. And so I plan to study that in college. My goal after obtaining a higher education is to hopefully work for the opportunity to be employed as a scientist for NASA or SpaceX or ESA, or if I could get that lucky, or some other space-related organization. My options for these fields are almost limitless because there are so many space-related companies pushing the envelope today.
Okay. So we wish you best luck for all your future missions. Like we wish all your dreams come true. Now I have another question, that is, how and when did you find your passion for space?
So I've always been asked that question. So the seedling of interest I have for astronomy and how it was planted and grew was from one singular image, the Hubble Deep Field image of 10,000 galaxies. The first time I saw it, it was just sitting innocently on my front doorstep inside a National Geographic magazine for kids. I think I was like 10, and it was just waiting for me to open it. But as soon as I saw that picture, and fully processed what it was I was seeing, I was instantaneously hooked. At just a mere young age of 10 years old, I knew immediately that that is what I needed to do, what I was meant for. I just had to do astronomy, and thus blossomed my love for it.
That's amazing. So even when I was a kid, I always used to look at the night sky and wonder about the creation of this universe, and that is how I got my interest and passion in the domain of space. And still, it's my dream that after 40 years, I just want to lay on the Greenland, looking at the night sky and wonder about the creation of this beautiful universe. So that is something which always inspire people to get into this industry. So, and we got to know that you are associated with the Mars generation as well. So, can you please tell us more about the Mars generation, what it is?
So, the Mars generation, TMG, I was selected in 2019 as one of 24 young students worldwide to be recognized as part of the Mars generation's second class of 24 under 24 leaders and innovators in STEAM and Space Award winners. So this group is comprised of young people from around the world who are breaking barriers and doing absolutely phenomenal things in science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, STEAM fields, and bringing the sciences to the public through multidisciplinary interests. And there's just so many amazing people out there, so it's really hard selection to make. I would feel really bad for the people on the board trying to choose who deserves what recognition and who's making the most mental jumps. And I was absolutely shocked that I was selected. Completely honored, but still utterly astonished. Some of these people are, from my age. Whenever I was selected, I was 17. Some, I think some of the youngest are like around 12 years old, and then some are 24. So you have to be under 24 years old to be selected as a Mars generation ambassador. So it's an amazing program, and this will be their third year. So I think I lost you, Sunny. Sunny, come in, Sunny. Nope. Okay, Sunny's gone. So I'll just go ahead and tell you a little bit about how and why astronomy, how it really kind of all started. So after attending a public star party whenever I was about 13 in 2015, I joined the Bartlesville Astronomical Society, what is called the BAS, and I was actually the only youth member at the time. I immediately got involved in any educational public outreach, and I proceeded with anything I could at public star parties, and like volunteering with other club members to help other children view through telescopes and even safely look at sunspots. Within about a year of joining, I started as a presenter for the BAS, providing monthly summaries of current astronomy news and larger topics such as famous rocket crashes, how to make astrophotography tracking maps, biology of a star, different constellations, and many, many more. Through the BAS, I began teaching for multiple outreach programs for local schools, festivals, and libraries. Now, like I said at the beginning, I'm 18, and I feel so privileged that I'm still a part of this club and involved.
Okay, that's amazing. I'm really sorry. I had a network issue, so I just got offline for some time, but then I came back again. I saw that you took the controls. Thank you so much for that. Yes, I would like to know that what space mission inspired you the most? Like we all have a mission, like yes, for me, it was Mars orbiter mission of India that gave a turning, point to my career, and that helped me out to, to dream for something which was way far away. So, what was that particular mission that inspired you the most?
For that mission, or what mission period inspired me the most?
Any mission that inspired you the most?
So I have always lusted after the Apollo missions. I've always been drawn to them since I was really young and first learned about them. I think I was in, around 5th grade. I thought it was just so adventurous and courageous what they did. It was the new frontier. They'd never done anything. They were basically in a tin can being launched with, von Braun rocketry behind them. It's ridiculous that it was even successful. Wonderful, but still, it was not very probable. But I think the specific mission that inspired me the most out of all of the Apollo missions was Apollo 13. It was supposed to be the 3rd lunar landing attempt, but the mission was aborted after a rupture of service module tank. I think it was an oxygen tank. Still, it was classified as a successful failure because of the experience gained in rescuing the crew. Thank heavens, literally, pun intended. But the mission did actually successfully land the upper stage. It was impacted on the moon, and so that part was good. But I just cannot imagine how afraid those astronauts must have been, how the science on the ground got them back here on Earth, the whole thing mind boggles me. That would be so terrifying, seeing the controls freeze right in front of your eyes and condensation dripping off, and all of the roadblocks that they encountered with that mission. It just inspired me, their tenacity, and it inspired me with how even in the darkest hour, when they knew that they weren't going to return, that they were going to die up there, that they got back, even with all, hopes lost.
Yeah. So Apollo mission was a very important mission, not just because it took humans to moon, but even because it inspired a lot of kids. And we are also waiting for such a milestone in our Indian space ecosystem that inspires a lot of students to think to get into this industry. And especially, I like the phrase that it was a successful failure, because what we think is that if we decide to do a particular task, if we complete it, then we call it success. If we don't complete it, we call it a failure. But we at STAR have redefined it, the definition of success and failure. Like if we decide to do a particular task, even if we don't complete it, but if we learn something new from it, then we call it a big success for us. So that's a very interesting, phrase that and thing that we learned from that mission. Now, being a space education-based company, I would like to know how important space education is to build the next space generation in any country.
It's extraordinarily important for kids. They're like sponges. They are to basically project anything that we give to them, whether it's positive or negative. So if we want there to be a better space generation than what we've ever had, if we want to propel the sciences and continue to let that spark keep thriving and keep burning, then we need to involve kids as much as possible and expose them as much as possible to anything science related, because it's such an in-depth field. I mean, there's so many different possibilities for them to be interested in, but I think that humans are capable of more than we even understand. We only have a very small glimpse of what we've done, and so we relate back to that and we just continue on that pattern. But our expansion of our own brains, let alone of this Earth and beyond our Earth to, say, Mars and the moon and beyond, is just infinitesimally small. It's just a fraction of what it could be. And so if we can, give kids the opportunity to, take us places where we thought that we'd never go, I think that's imperative. I wanted to share my passion and knowledge with other kids that might be interested in astronomy particularly, and I wanted to make it more accessible. So I became a founding member and helped my mentor, Rick Bryant, with the Bartlesville Astronomical Society to organize the Bartian Youth Astronomers. In our small community of Bartlesville, Oklahoma, consisting of about 37,000 population, we formed the first non-school affiliated youth astronomy club in the country as far as we can find. So that should just tell you right there that it's so necessary, because there's just it's just so little. It's so we need to spread the knowledge. We need to brainwash those kids into liking science more. So we actually started with an outline of everything we could possibly want, shooting for the moon, our mission, vision, goals, meeting ideas, issues, policies, achievement awards, projects, workshops, telescopes, equipment, book loaner programs, and more. Because with kids, you can't just have a static learning program. They're not going to stay interested and stay involved and stay captured with a subject if it's just on a 2D plane. It has to be 3D, it has to be 4D, it has to be 5D, as multidimensional as you can possibly make it, because their minds are developing as we speak. And so, just one slight thing, whether it be a different sensor, if it's learned through, a visual and sound, then that makes it, twice as, memorable and important for them. So actually the first real Bartian youth astronomer meeting was in June of 2016. So then after that, I volunteered. I think I was maybe 14. I think it was in my first year to do the astronomy monthly news presentation at a regular Bartlesville astronomical meetings for a retiring club member. Again, that's your formidable years, and I think that was the turning point for me. That's the only reason where I am at today, because I put myself out there and I just picked, I have some free time. I think I want to learn, maybe some upcoming news related things with astronomy, because I'm an astronomy and astro nerd girl, and I'm just all game for that. And I'm here now because of that small innocent interest. Then it's taken me all the way here. So that butterfly effect can be just so monumental. On average, I actually spent about 25 to 30 hours every month crunching and digesting and creating the news with like a PowerPoint program, creating a slideshow for a presentation. The BAS allowed me about 15 minutes, and I usually covered about 13 different astronomy stories. Like I said, I've grown so much in this area, learning so much along the way, and my newer segments are, I believe, much better than the original ones, because you evolve over time, you mature. Before, I wanted to do like 30 stories. I wanted to do as many as possible, like 2 a minute. And then I discovered that details mattered and they were more important. And so I delved a little bit more on one particular topic. So I learned over time, but I also created and do continue to maintain a Pinterest page for the Bartlesville Astronomical Society to provide links of my news and photo sources. So if someone's interested, and again, that's another way that kids can say, oh, well, I really like that story about this particular nebula or this new star or this, oldest galaxy ever discovered, because those reoccur in news all the time. But still, whenever you're a kid, you hear that, you're like, oh, wow, that's so cool. And it could be that one little thing that ignites that spark. And so I provide that so that they can go back and look at it.
Well, that's interesting, and very rightly said. The real classroom for the kids is not within the four walls. It lies in the open space where they can go, where they can look around and they can explore things. Yeah. We need to allow kids to touch things and to observe things on their own and to find out the reasons why that particular thing is and how they exist in here. So this mission, especially if we talk about the Falcon 9 crewed mission, if we, apart from the technological advancement, how important was that mission for the future generation? Like how it inspired the future generation to get into this industry?
This recent mission that just launched, the SpaceX.
Yes, SpaceX crewed mission.
Really, it is, and I know it sounds like an understatement, but it is a new era for human spaceflight, as we, once again launched American astronauts on American rockets from American soil, because before we were launching it and relied solely on Russia with the space shuttle. And as amazing as that program was and as generous as they were, we needed to make that step. Right now, they have an indefinite mission up on the space station at the moment. The astronauts, Bob and Doug, they estimate that they could stay up there up to 4 months possibly, or maybe as little as 1 month. It just depends. We won't classify this as a successful mission until we bring them back home. That is the most important part. But it has been just absolutely incredible. Everything went just beautifully. It was a significant achievement for SpaceX, NASA, and just for the United States, for the launch of actually a commercial space mission was just phenomenal. It was a great demonstration of the excellence that these scientists have done, and it's an important step on our path to extend human explorations to the moon and to Mars, because Elon Musk says hypothetically, hopefully, that we will use the Crew Dragon to transport people, commercial flights to the ISS. Now, I'm not sure how comfortable I am with, someone that's inexperienced rummaging around, maybe pulling a cord and then all lights go off. That's kind of a maniacal scenario, but I'm slightly nervous with just allowing public up there. I'm sure that they would be very strenuous on allowing what type of individual in the ISS, but still, and it's slightly nerve-wracking. But for what this entails beyond the ISS, and it's just infinite. What we can do going to the moon. He wants to put life up there, and put like space modular homes and whatnot, and hopefully Mars. But very, very important. I think we'll just think of this as another launch to the ISS, but really it demonstrates so much more.
Okay, cool. So if you get an opportunity to have a to and fro journey to International Space Station, and against that, if you have an opportunity to go to Mars, that's just a one-side trip, which will you select?
If I had the opportunity to go, one-way ticket.
To and fro for the International Space Station, and one-way ticket to Mars.
Ooh. That's a very interesting question. I would have to decide if I wanted children or not. If I wanted children and made that commitment, then of course, no, I would not choose the one-way ticket to Mars. But however, what a beautiful idea to just stay up there if I had, hypothetically, an infinite amount of oxygen and whatnot. That would be so cool. It would be slightly depressing after a while, being the only individual. But I mean, eventually we'd make it up there, and maybe a couple of people would meet me up there. So probably just stay on the safe side. I take the ticket to the ISS just to experience space and come back down to Earth.
So that means me and Deepak. Deepak is one of our hosts. So me and Deepak will be going alone now, because most of the speakers have selected International Space Station. I guess none of them have selected Mars. So Deepak, we are still alone there. And Deepak is asking, if you get an opportunity to go to Mars, what would you take with you?
What would I take with me to Mars?
Yeah.
Would I have a limited amount of items, or?
Yes.
Yes.
One particular thing.
I think it'd be kind of humorous if I brought a ukulele up there. I think that'd be pretty funny. It would make history. Maybe a Walkman. That'd be nice. That would probably be able to survive the strenuous atmosphere.
Okay,
but
cool.
no other crucial items, of course. Just a ukulele and a Walkman.
Amazing. So we have a question from Ishant. He's asking what message you have for any parent out there about STEM.
So I am homeschooled, and being a homeschooler, you encounter a lot of religious homeschoolers here in Oklahoma. They kind of live in what is called lovingly the Bible Belt. And I have absolutely nothing against religion. I do believe in a higher power myself. I believe we're all connected. So I'm not being hypocritical or anything. However, a lot of events that I've done or spoken at, and some kids have left the club because there are a lot of individuals here that believe there's a certain timeline that doesn't really match up, within about the flat earther timeline. And there have been a couple kids that have politely removed themselves from the club and from relation to me and a lot of other homeschool groups that taught heavily on science, just because it conflicted with their beliefs, and I completely respect that. That's totally fine, but it hasn't been too difficult. I do have to be careful though, depending on my audience.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about the future opportunities for the startups and for the students as well in the space industry. So what are the opportunities for them?
Say that one more time.
So what are the opportunities for the startups, like budding startups and the aspiring students in the space industry?
There's so many new things going on. One thing that I think is really going to change our perception of space is, and I'm quite biased, the James Webb Space Telescope. It's going to be an orbiting infrared observatory that will complete and extend the discoveries of the Hubble Space Telescope with longer wavelength coverage and greatly improved sensitivity. So the longer wavelength enables Webb to look much closer to the beginning of time and hunt for the unobserved formation of the first galaxies, as well as to look inside dust clouds where stars and planetary systems are forming daily, and so forth and so on, and discovering exoplanets and new life. So I think once that launches, I hope that a whole bunch of kids will see that, and hopefully with what we've exposed them throughout up until that point, will say, yes, I'm getting on that train. I want to do that, because that is so cool. Because just as small of a thing as the kids that I encountered today, a black hole inspired them, or Hubble inspired them, and so many kids see these pictures, and it opens up their imagination, it opens up the world, and they can't differentiate between the two, which is where we want them to be, because that then lies the possible. And I think that will really expand everyone's horizons and perceptions of what is possible, because right now we've put a limit on that. And so I think that's key. But there's so many programs that are opening up for kids, and I'm so excited to be alive in this time, because whenever my parents were at my age, they didn't have the same opportunities, especially for women. It was not as, propelled for us females to excel in, sciences or heavy math related, fields. Right now, this is one of the best times for women to enter any science field, really, just because I think we've grown much more as a civilization. And again, so many space agencies and companies and from to school systems to different extracurricular activities are really encouraging kids and girls to be involved more.
Okay, amazing. So we have one more question. It is, how do you think space exploration will change our life and humanity's future? I would like to modify this question. Like last night, I got a text from one of a person from my network. He asked me that why you put so much money into space when we have a lot of problems on Earth. So why are we not investing on the problems on Earth, and we are putting so much money for the space exploration? So what are your thoughts on that? How would you reply?
I've been asked this question a couple of times, and really, I think you can take two sides if you want to bifurcate this, or we can consider this as a whole problem. Because in a sense, yes, we have a lot of issues here on Earth, and a lot of scientists and space companies are, propelling their rocketry and different missions to take us to Mars so we can, put a colony up there. But that in itself is escaping our problems that we've created here. So yes, I agree on both sides, and I know that that's kind of contrary to a lot of answers that I've heard, but I think that we as a civilization, humanity, just period, needs to breach from our comfort zone and from our, what you could call God's confinement here on Earth, our little play area, our safe zone, if we're ever going to survive as a species, because there's an infinite number of worlds out there, and we know that there could be possibly trillions of exoplanets out there, and life could be out there. And we say, oh, UFOs could exist, and we see UFOs, and we've got sightings of UFOs and all of this documentation. But realistically, with physics, it's not possible. So there's got to be either one way around that, like a multi-dimension travel that they've figured out somehow and developed a kind of a cheat, a loop, or a wormhole type, a kind of a pinch in time, or two, we're entering in their atmosphere, or they were here before us, and we don't even have any grounds to understand that, let alone appreciate that. So I think expanding from our little play area here on Earth is really important just to evolve, but we do need to acknowledge our problems and save our mother here, just because we put her through a rough childhood. So I agree with both standpoints.
Yeah, so I agree with that. Like we space pioneers not only focuses on sending humans to Mars, but we also focuses on spreading humanity on Earth, right? And whatever we are using, like internet, we use e-learning platforms, we use weather forecast, weather monitoring tools as well, and all that comes from the satellite that is again a part of a SpaceX. So whatever we build is just for the betterment of to make our life better on Earth and to spread the humanity and to save the humanity. So it's rightly said. One of my favorite questions is, like, we believe in making space for everyone. Like, we believe space is for everyone. So what are your views on that?
I think that's wonderful. I think that's where we needed to be a long time ago. So I'm kind of sad we're just now reaching that point, but I'm very grateful that we've at least crossed that barrier. I love the Space for Everyone movement, especially in some hard times over here. We've had racial issues for as long as they've been presenting themselves since, I hate to say this, but since, Caucasians have always been so pompous, we've just been having a lot of problems for a really long time, and it's really appropriate that they've never been resolved. So I think Space for Everyone doesn't just represent and include everyone in the sense of, mixed colors, mixed races, from different countries. I think it shows that we're kind of coming together a little bit more tightly and kind of looking over our differences. So I think that's it. I think it's really necessary and a really good thing.
Yeah, we always say that space never discriminates. It is for everyone.
Yes.
So Ron is asking, can you tell us about your Planetarium show and what inspired it?
So my Planetarium show actually originated from one of my programs whenever I presented to the Bartlesville Astronomical Society several years ago. I did a presentation on the Cassini-Huygens mission, and I remember sitting in one of the seats, and one of them asked me if I do a presentation, just to contribute as an active club member. And I said, sure, why not? What the heck? It was going to be the main program. So with our club, sometimes we do, like a 20-minute, 30-minute program, or, a full hour. And so I was picked for the main program, and I researched, and I just worked so hard on absorbing as much information as possible on Saturn, on the, anything Cassini related, really how probes work, period, and the Huygens probe. And so I created a PowerPoint program and presented it to them. It was a huge success. And someone from, I think, a Tulsa club or a Broken Arrow club saw me and asked if I would do that for the Mid-States Regional Astronomical League Convention in the summer of 2018, I do believe. And so I did it there, and I think it was probably the most difficult but yet satisfying project I've done. I had several posters and books and models of the Cassini satellite and of the Huygens probe for viewing and discussion afterwards. So this program was about an hour, like I said again, and I think that really accelerated my involvement and networking and connections with different people. And so I've taken that talk with several different groups. Like it's kind of like my fallback. So if someone says, "Hey, can you talk for our club?" I'll say, "Oh, let me see what ones I've got." I'm like, "Oh, I'll just do Cassini." And so the Tulsa club asked me to present this about a year ago in April. So in 2019, and so I did it, and it was at the Jinx Planetarium, and the planetarium director saw me and said that it was great, since I already had really articulate notes on it, and I had the program put together really nicely. It flowed well, that he wanted to make it into a planetarium show. And so we worked for a year. Dan and I did. Dan Zielinski is the planetarium director, and oh gosh, we've had such a great relationship, learning the different things, how to make a planetarium show. It's a whole new learning curve, and it was just so fun. And so basically the planetarium show blossomed from that presentation, and it's definitely not as long, and it's a little bit more concise and explains and expands on certain topics that the public wouldn't understand, just not understanding the lingo, and so it's really a great show, and it's been with me for a while, from whenever I created it. I think it was in like 2017 or something.
Okay, cool. So Deepak is asking, if you could, what all changes would you bring to education system?
What changes would I bring to education system?
Yeah.
I don't think we have enough time for me to answer that question. There would be a lot. I would make a lot of changes. I think a lot of people misrepresent how amazing America is. on a lot of, different areas, and our educational system is one of them. Common Core is horrible. It is horrible. It is one of the most despicable things, and we don't even have time for me to cover everything that I don't approve of.
That's fine.
So, one thing, instead of focusing on the negative, that I think everyone could change would be to be more open, because what I've noticed throughout time is that whenever we try to teach, we teach through ego, and that isn't, a really successful path. Just because there's so many flaws attached to that, right? So if, like, let's just say, for example, fourth grade math teacher, if a student discovers a way to, resolve a problem the way that she did not teach them, it still is correct, but it's not correct in the school system now, which is just, that's horrible, because there are so many problems in physics that we've encountered, that we've given to college students and say that they are possible, and we don't tell them that there is a limit to that problem, that it's not solvable, and they solve it. And these problems that we previously thought were unsolvable, that were these impossible problems, they figured out just because in their forebrain they weren't told they couldn't. And that stunts so many people, and it stunts what could be. And so I think that is a huge failing in our system, because we've got just this regimen and these boxes on how it's been done, how it needs to be done, and the box keeps just getting smaller, because what I believe, and this could just purely be conspiracy, is that, creativity, they want to, we're more controllable if we're not, expanding and being, super creative. So, that in itself says that, less kids will be able to, figure our own problems out. And, so we don't have enough time for me to continue on.
I can understand. Our education system is like a mountain that we need to climb. Like, we cannot change the mountain, but we need to change accordingly, right? So it completely depends on us and our curiosity, that if we want to learn something, we'll find out a way to learn. So no one can stop us doing that. This is a very important question we have got in the comment box, because if we talk about the next space generation, a lot of aspiring female space pioneers and space entrepreneurs, they will be facing challenges in the countries where which are full of stereotypes. So what challenges you faced as a woman in this world of stereotypes, and how did you overcome them?
So in the world period, or in the world of astronomy and science?
Overall.
So there have been a lot. I have been so lucky, although for the people that I've surrounded myself with and been exposed to and, connected and made relations over the years, they've been very, very, very supportive, and I wouldn't be where I am at today without them. So I am very indebted to them and love and appreciate them so much. But sadly, I have faced a lot of misogyny being in this field, just because it's very male dominated, just because, over history it's just been, progressed mainly by males, and so it's kind of, like a good old boys club, and with, girls breaching in on it, some of them become very uncomfortable. Some are very, open to it and are all for it. And, those men are what will help change the world. But there have been a lot of, sourpusses, in a nice term, that I've encountered, especially whenever I first started. So I came to the club, and I think it's just because the older generation is ingrained in a certain way. It's almost, it's just conditioning. That's what they know. And so I don't fault them for it, but they weren't very open to me. I mean, I was a 10-year-old, little kid, and I wanted to be involved. And one person reached out to me, one person out of a 40-member, club. And over time, they saw that I was, very tenacious and interested, and that I was committed to the sciences and to astronomy, and that I, was there and was gonna do it. And so over time, that number grew to about 5, and then it grew to about 10, and then up until about this last year, that number just stayed. It was static. And so now I have the support of what I believe is all the club members, but I know I made a lot of them uncomfortable, and was, vocally uncomfortable sometimes. And they, some of them said some really nasty things. Just because I apparently, offended their macho, male ego, just because on some things I was more informed. And what's so sad about that is, whenever you're a mentor or someone that's in an older position of a student, a young grasshopper in a sense, you need to do whatever you possibly can to help that individual, excel, instead of, hinder them and get in your way, just because you have a fragile ego, or, you want to be in the spotlight, or if they, go outside of your capabilities, you don't need to be offended or anything. And a lot of people, what I've experienced, a lot of people are like that, and that's really, really kind of sad. Now that's, a nice summary. It's been much more rough than what I portray, but I've forgiven all of them, and it is what it is. And what I know and still am gung-ho about is, I know I'm going to see a lot harder problems in college with this. I know that there will be really difficult professors. I know that on some of my research projects, there will be some hardships, but that's life. And right now we're, doing the best we can to educate guys on, being more inclusive with girls and being nicer. And it's a much better world. But, like I said, the older generation is mainly what's in, the sciences. And so another point is, whether you're a girl or a guy, putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, and even if you think you're foolish, do it over and over and over again, as many times as you can, and then, plus 4 more. Just because we can all learn. We can learn whether we've been in the field for 20 minutes or whether we've been in the field for 20 years. It doesn't matter what stance you're at, how long you've been at, how accredited you are, if you're a professional or a student. We all can learn, whether it be the innocence and the excitement and reinvigorate yourself because you've, known physics for 40 years and you're just teaching because it's boring, or whether, you're that physics student and you want to learn and understand, life, period, and, what propels us. So that's basically all I have to say on my experiences. I just kind of sugar-coated it a little.
That's fine. Yeah. So now we have a final question coming up. That is advice for the young, aspiring space pioneers and the entrepreneurs.
One more time. Say that one more time.
Advice for the aspiring space pioneers and the space entrepreneurs.
Basically just what I've been saying and what I've said. I'll, reiterate it again. Just keep going. Let nothing get in your way. Nothing, stop that drive. and just continue to encourage everyone else around you, whether they go farther than you do or whether you go farther than them. I think we all need to support each other, and I think hopefully one day we won't be shot up into space by rocketry. Hopefully it will be something else, whether it be us teleporting up by Scotty into the Enterprise. I'm a huge Trekkie fan, or maybe something a little bit more elegant. But I think it's a go. I think it's going to be great, and like I said, it's a new era. So there's so many different possibilities. It's very encouraging.
Amazing. So thank you so much. It was really a wonderful experience to interact with you. And personally, I got to learn a lot of things. We had a wonderful audience. We got a lot of questions. We almost answered most of the questions. Thank you so much. I hope you had a great time too with us.
Thank you. This has been such a wonderful experience. It's given me kind of pause once again to also be grateful for all of the support that I've had, from my parents and mentors and peers. Like I said, none of what has transpired and what I've experienced would have been possible without their steadfast guidance, help, and encouragement. So thank you to everyone who is encouraging your youth and your kids. And thank you everyone who's encouraged me and who's been, watching this. Thanks for your time and consideration. And thank you so much, Sunny, for having me on here.
We are honored to have you on board. So looking forward to work with you in the future. We wish you all the best for your upcoming missions and for your work. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you, audience. We'll be coming up with few more sessions with such interesting topics and such interesting speakers with us. Till then, stay tuned to our Facebook page, that is Space Technology and Aeronautical Rocketry. Take care. Bye.
Bye.